Copyright just lost the war, and the people clinging to it refused to read the casualty report. Here is what actually happened. In the last few weeks, the Thomson Reuters versus Ross intelligence case finally delivered its damages phase ruling, and simultaneously new class action filings landed against Anthropic and Meta alleging mass ingestion of copyrighted books and code during pre-training. The courts are drowning, and the villain here is not any single AI company. The villain is the copyright framework itself, a system built in the 1800s for physical reproduction of physical objects, now being duct-taped onto a technology that fundamentally does not copy anything in the way the law understands copying. The legal establishment, the publishing lobbies, the record labels, they are all pretending the old rules still apply. They do not. And every month of pretending costs creators real money while lawyers get rich on billable confusion. Let me give you 3 pieces of technical proof that this system is already broken beyond repair. First, tokenization destroys the concept of a copy. When an LLM ingests a book during pre-training, the text is broken into subword tokens, converted to numerical vectors, and fed through gradient descent across billions of parameters. The resulting weights do not store sentences. They store statistical relationships between token embeddings in a high-dimensional space. Asking whether the model contains a copy of a specific book is like asking whether the ocean contains a specific glass of water. The legal definition of reproduction assumes a retrievable duplicate exists somewhere. In a transformer's parameter matrix, it does not. Courts have no technical framework for this, and expert witnesses on both sides are saying contradictory things because the question itself is malformed. Second, fair use analysis collapses at scale. Fair use has 4 factors, and the most important one in practice is market harm. But when a model trained on 10 million documents generates a summary that competes with one of those documents, which document was harmed? All of them? None of them? The inference output is a probabilistic composite, not a derivative of any single source. The NYT versus OpenAI case is trying to prove market substitution by showing that ChatGPT can reproduce near-verbatim passages. But those reproductions are cherry-picked edge cases from a system that generates billions of unique outputs daily. Building copyright policy around memorization artifacts in attention layers is like banning cars because sometimes they backfire. Third, the proposed legislative fixes are embarrassingly shallow. The US COPIED Act wants to require AI companies to disclose training data. Sounds reasonable until you realize that a frontier model's pre-training corpus is often multiple petabytes of scraped web data, much of it deduplicated, filtered, and transformed through multiple preprocessing pipelines before it ever touches the model. Full disclosure is technically meaningless because the relationship between raw input data and learned weights is nonlinear and non-reversible. You cannot audit what a model learned from a specific source any more than you can audit which meals gave you a specific muscle fiber. The EU approach of allowing opt-out for rights holders is equally hollow because web scraping at scale makes individual opt-outs unenforceable without a centralized global registry that nobody has built or funded. Now, if you have been following this argument and it is making your blood pressure rise, good. That means you are paying attention to something most channels are too comfortable to say out loud. Subscribe. We are not done making enemies. The strongest counterargument is that without copyright, creators lose all economic incentive. If AI can train on everything for free, why would anyone write, compose, or illustrate? It is a fair concern. But here is the problem with that defense. Copyright was already failing creators long before generative AI arrived. The music industry's streaming payouts, the publishing industry's advanced structures, the stock photography market's race to the bottom, all of these were hollowed out by platform economics years ago. Copyright did not protect creators from Spotify paying fractions of a cent per stream. It did not protect journalists from Google scraping headlines for search snippets. The system was already a fiction that primarily benefited intermediaries, not individual creators. Generative AI did not kill copyright. It performed the autopsy on a body that was already cold. So where does this leave us? We need a new compensation framework. something closer to a collective licensing model or a compute-based royalty tax that distributes revenue proportionally based on training data provenance, tracked through data fingerprinting at the ingestion layer, not through century-old legal abstractions about copying. The technology exists to build this. The political will does not, because too many powerful players benefit from the current chaos. Here is where I land. Copyright as we know it is a dead protocol running on legacy infrastructure. Patching it will not work. The question is whether we build the replacement before or after an entire generation of creators gets ground to dust in the gears. So tell me, should AI companies pay a blanket tax on compute to fund creators? Or does that just become another slush fund that never reaches the people who actually make things?